more to share with us. So, Mr. Filbert, the ground is yours. Now you can take a place and talk to us.
Okay, thank you so much, a friend of mine. Dear ladies and gentlemen, once again, good evening. It is my great opportunity, pleasure to be here to this platform today to talk about all what is concerning about dyslexia, and particularly the topic which we have today. Now, today we are going to discuss about the training gaps in identifying dyslexia in African schools, the teacher's role in the issue of identifying the dyslexia in African schools. And I would like to start my presentation tonight by giving you a brief overview concerning the terminology itself, dyslexia. One may ask yourself, when we are talking about dyslexia, I know most of us, it is a common terminology, it is well known, but to some new guests who have joined us for the first time today, they may not be having a deep understanding concerning dyslexia. Now, when we talk about dyslexia, this is a neurological based specific learning difficulty that primarily affects the accuracy and fluency of the word reading, spelling, and decoding. And sometimes it occurs across the full range of intellectual ability, and it is not caused by poor vision or poor hearing or lack of effort or low intelligence. It is one of the most common learning differences in the world, estimated by international literature to affect somewhere at least between 10 to 15% of the school age children globally. Now, here I'm talking about the issue of globally. You know, most of education stakeholders, teachers, parents, and the community at large, we are maybe in one way or another, we have encountered people with the slow learning ability, or maybe difficulty in pronouncing words, or maybe difficulty when it comes to the issue of understanding the concepts. And sometimes we normally use the word which is undesirable to them, which we call it slow learner. By the way, to my view and perception, the word is not much nice to me. So when we talk about dyslexia, by a brief introduction, as I said earlier, is a neurological based specific learning difficulty that primarily affect the accuracy and the fluency of the word reading, spelling, and decoding. Now, there are various form of dyslexia, like dyscalculia, which deals with the issue of numbers. But today we shall just discuss on the matter of the issue of dyslexia itself, the teacher's role. Now, when it comes to uplift this young generation, upcoming generation, the students, the children, there are people who are much vital. They play a great role. Apart from parents, we have the teachers, we have the stakeholders, the education practitioners. Now, what is the teacher's role in and the issue of identifying dyslexia in African schools. I did a research recently to some of primary schools in Tanzania, and I did a research to some school teachers. The school teachers, out of 10 teachers, 6 teachers, they were not aware of the term dyslexia, meaning that out of 10 teachers, 4 teachers, only 4 teachers, they're aware of dyslexia. And sometimes you may find a teacher entering in a teaching in educational environment, teaching pupils, but he's not aware of this thing, dyslexia. Now, you know, when it comes to the educational field, based on the research which we conducted recently, we have discovered that there are some common signs that a teacher has to observe so as to be aware of the dyslexia itself. Now, you may find a teacher in teaching context, perhaps primary school, secondary school, or any level of education. You know, when we talk about dyslexia, it's not about primary or meaning from 0 to 9 years. It is from childhood to adulthood or any level of education. Now, you being a teacher or education practitioner, there are some common signs that a teacher can observe. Number one, uh, readings by notifying the pace. When I talk the pace, meaning that the speed of your learner. You may find a pupil or a child or a student with the challenge of dyslexia. You may identify him or her by the way he or she read the pace, the speed, and you may find the way he's reading the words is quite different to a pupil who does not have dyslexia. Also, sometimes, which is mostly common to lower primary pupils, uh, confusing of the phonetic letters. You may find a pupil, instead of writing B, is writing D, or instead of writing was, is writing so. These pupils, these students, they have a tendency of confusing phonetics. And another common sign is the strong verbal ability of reasoning. You know, pupil with dyslexia, to my view, based on the research of various scholars, these people, they have a very high ability of reasoning, but weak when it comes to the written output. And this is a visible gap between what the child can say and what the child can write. You may find uh, you have a child or a pupil in the class. If you give him an oral taste, this pupil will respond to you very accurately and perhaps will get 100 out of 100. But he is not in a very good position of putting it into written. Now, this is one among the common sign that a teacher can observe. Also, sometimes difficulty in remembering the sequences of the days of the week, or multiplication tables, or instruction given. Sometimes they may look like they are insane while they are not. So they may behave quite different from the normal pupils. Pupils with dyslexia, number one thing, they dislike noisy environment. You may find uh, their fellow pupils, they may be shouting here and there, but they dislike noises. Now, this is it wants to be like same to autism, but it's not autism. And uh, a teacher has to know this, that dealing with a dyslexic pupil is a teacher is dealing with one among the most intelligent people in the world. Why saying so? Because most of the great people who have done great things in the world, they were the dyslexic students. We have the common examples known as which are well known, such as the famous scientist Thomas Thomas Edison, and many more others. If you research, you can be aware of it. Now, the myth uh, which is being created by most of teachers who are aware of dyslexic pupil is, number one, you may find I was in a certain school somewhere, and I went there as an observer. I was observing, doing a certain research. And most teachers, the way how they are dealing with these dyslexic pupils is quite it's like a very annoying. You may find a teacher giving a pupil unwanted names, such as he's just a lazy, he's just careless, not knowing that this pupil is facing some difficulties in learning. But if you'll be trained closely or given a certain support, we are creating a very great person for the future. Also, another myth which goes beyond that is sometimes you may find a teacher saying that this pupil, this student, it has been her normal behavior since she joined this school. It has been her attendance. She's very lazy. Now, this kind of words, they tend to they tend to discourage these learners, dyslexic pupils. What they need from we education practitioner is moral support, supporting them, encouraging them, comforting them, all about what it concerns with caring concerning their studies. They need a very close supervision. Now, if a child misses that, then we are not in a very good position. Uh, Now, let us move further, looking on the scope of the problem across African schools or African classrooms. Uh, This is not a French concern. Regional gatherings and reports throughout 2025 have repeatedly placed teacher training gaps at the center of Africans' unfinished literacy agenda. This has been one among the agendas which we intellectuals, we have been discussing it day to day. Now, basing on the evidence from the region, regional advocates note that globally dyslexia affects an estimated of 10 to 15% of school age children, yet across African limited awareness, and also weak diagnostic services, inadequate teacher training. This these challenges leave millions of these learners without support. So inadequate teachers training leaves millions of these learners without support. Most of our universities, they just offer education curriculum basis. They offer education fundamentals, the curriculums, the educational the skills required for a teacher. But most of the universities, they don't discuss, they don't offer the teachers concerning the dyslexia awareness. If we remember, a 2025 UNICEF Eastern and Southern African Regional Review conducted within the African Dyslexia Organization found that many national educational systems do not explicitly recognize dyslexia in the policy. Most they lack teachers training on the identification and support. They have no national screening tools for early detection and realistics and structured literacy programs, and they do not track the outcomes for children with dyslexia, leaving their progress effectively invisible. So these our educational systems, basing on the research conducted with UNICEF in 2025 from Eastern and Southern Africa, it revealed that most of the national education systems do not explicitly recognize dyslexia in the policy. Most of our policies in the education system, they don't recognize the issue of dyslexia or dyslexic awareness. Also, basing on the research in the South African, uh, it was the Lesotho. It found out that most of primary teachers generally had only the basic understanding of dyslexia and lacked the knowledge of its underlying biological and cognitive, uh, cognitive, uh, cognitive, cognitive aspects, pattern of consistent with earlier findings across other developing countries. So you may find most, as I said earlier, still most of the schools, primary schools, still have they lack this awareness. Also, when it comes to secondary schools, for instance, in Tanzania, most of the schools, they are not aware about the issue of dyslexia. They just see a pupil is a slow learner, and they just tell me this boy, it has been his tendency and behavior. This is always a slow learner. Now that also it is a challenge, a great challenge on it. Another thing on top of that is uh, in response, the organizations such as the Africa Dyslexia Organization, Dyslexia Tanzania, working with the UNESCO and the other partners. In 2025, they ran the training program uh, for for the teachers, for the educational stakeholders in Tanzania and in Africa at large. Uh, like what also Dyslexia Tanzania Literacy for All what is doing, like what this platform is doing. What you are doing is you are trying to raise awareness, you are trying to raise um, to provide education to teachers. You're trying to raise the awareness standard, the identity to be in a position to identify and support teachers with various skills. So I would like to also to congratulate the chairperson of this platform, Dyslexia Tanzania, concerning of what you have been doing, and this it has create a great awareness to most of some African countries uh, where we practice this knowledge. And bring it back to Tanzania. Uh, Tanzania has not widely implemented the national screening protocol for dyslexia in primary school, secondary school, the pre-service for teachers training, college do not routinely include the structured coursework on the specific learning difficulties, and most of the identification where it happens at all currently depends on the individual alertness of a single classroom teacher rather than the whole school system or the whole education system. So perhaps me and you, we could have a question to ask ourselves, that you just try to estimate privately how many dyslexic pupils might sit in an average class of maybe perhaps to 30 to 40 pupils, uh, using the 10 to 15 percentage range. Then you will get a correct uh, perception and view concerning the issue and concerning the gap. So the question comes, why the training gaps exist? Why do we keep on having these uh, training gaps while we have we have the educated intellectuals, we have the doctors, we have the education practice, the pioneers, all what is required we have. But why this thing still exists? Why does it uh, still exist? This is a question to ask ourselves. Now, understanding the gap requires looking at four connected levels, which are the pre-service training, in-service support, policy, and the culture. These three levels, they work together. The pre-service training, meaning that a person, before going to practice or performing his duties, the pre-service training, in-service support, the policies which are being made, and the culture. But starting with the pre-service teacher education, um, one may find that teacher training colleges and the universities across much of Africa, they devote little or no dedicated time to specific learning difficulties within their core curricula. You may find uh, there are some special needs education which they are highly being considered, but these facilities, they pay a very little attention to when it comes to the issue of dyslexia. And another thing which is very crucial, the in-service support. There are teachers who are in this platform today who are in service. They're in service. You work as teachers. You deal with students. You are dealing with the future generation. Now, the continuous professional development programs rarely include dyslexia specific modules where training exists. It is often about one-off workshop rather than sustained coaching. When we go, for instance, in Tanzania, the teachers who are working in the Tanzania educational system, you have what we call mewaka. The mewaka, you may find what is muchly discussed there is all about fulfilling lesson plans, preparing good scheme of work, having proper teaching methodologies, of which is great, it's good. But at what extent do you pay attention when it comes to the issue of dyslexia or dyslexic? At what percent do you pay attention or you raise awareness when it comes to the issue of slow learning? Now here uh, we have we have to ask ourselves now. As I said earlier, there is a place where we have a gap. There is a gap which is required to be fulfilled. And moving further, the policy and the systems, you know, national curricula and inclusive education frameworks frequently do not name dyslexia explicitly, which it weakens the case for allocating training budgeting to it. Our government systems, they normally prepare a certain budget to each project. It is very rarely finding the government setting aside the budget concerning dyslexia, of which it has been a very great challenge to our education. We have a lot of dyslexic pupils, but how are they being helped? So when it comes to the issue of the policies and the systems, also there is no standardized or low costing tool which is established to schools. Uh, Even well-intentioned teacher who has a formal instrument to confirm that this pupil is a dyslexic. You may find most of you teachers, you just use your psychological background, or what we call your intuitives, that by just observing the child, and perhaps this boy is a dyslexic, but there is no the specific tool for that. Also, which this exists mostly to government schools, is the issue of large class size, commonly 40 to 60 pupils, perhaps even to 150 pupils. I remember I went to a certain school somewhere in a remote area, and a school had had a class which had pupils of almost 200 pupils in one class. So you may find uh, our infrastructure, it makes an individual observation genuinely difficult even to a teacher who is aware. You may find perhaps you are a teacher and you are aware of it, but how can you help these pupils? Because you have pupils almost like 200 pupils, and out of 200 pupils, perhaps uh, 50% of the class, you have dyslexic pupils. How can you help them? How can you help individual pupil? It's a challenge. Now, moving further on it, there are some consequences. Now, this gap which exists, it has brought us a very crucial consequences. For starting from for starting with the child, repeatedly academic failures despite of genuine effort, leading to shame, declining self-esteem, and uh, furthermore, the high increase rate of school dropout. The miscalculation as the behavioral or discipline problem, which can result in punishment instead of support. You may just think, this pupil is lazy, then you frequently punish him or punish her. You punish and you punish, you punish and you punish, and after some times, you may, instead of providing support to the child, you start demoralizing the mindset of the particular child. But also, as I said, elevated risk of anxiety, school avoidance, and eventually the school dropout. Uh, this gap also caused not only to a child but also to a teacher frustration, burnout from repeatedly using the strategies that do not work for a child who's really, really in need of the support, and also wastage of time. Also, time is one among the most crucial assets. So, if we are using it to a child repeatedly and no any outcome, then this is the wastage of instructional time. Also, for the nation, there is the loss of human capital. You know, these dyslexic pupils, we have the pupils who are intellectuals, who are intelligent, who are genius. There is a friend of mine. I normally used to speak to him as I normally I normally call him a friend of mine, Masood Kipanya. I think most of us we know him. Masood Kipanya. This is one among the cartoonists in Tanzania. Here in Tanzania, this Masood Kipanya was a dyslexic pupil, and the story behind him, he was not he did not get the appropriate help support from teachers. But I think we all know him, that today he is a very great influencer to our country's politics and life, influencing young upcoming generation. So in one way or another, this also, to a nation, it can lead to the loss of human capital, capable young people underperforming in the national examination, not because of the lack of ability, but because of an addressed invisible barrier, and also the long-term costs of shifting from one school to another, from one institution to another, leading to also to unemployment, underemployment, and the decline of the national manpower. So, my dear teachers and educational stakeholders, we have a great role to add on this. We have a great role because we have been entrusted with the children. the parents, the nation has trusted you as the people who can impact knowledge. Let it, you use it wisely, because what you are planting today to that particular child, you may never know that child after some years to come, who will he be? Perhaps you are dealing with the president, the next coming president of your country. Perhaps you are dealing with the next the prime minister of a certain nation. Perhaps you are dealing with the next coming billionaire. So the way we handle them, the way we deal with these cases, we have to know that the government has entrusted us with a great faith of ensuring that we impact knowledge. And as long as you're a teacher, you have to raise your standards of uh, awareness concerning the issue of dyslexia, because you are dealing with uh, a generation which one day will bring freedom to our country. Perhaps education freedom, perhaps educational freedom, perhaps economic freedom, political freedom, and many more. So the way you deal, uh, you have to look it properly. You know, considering the two children with identical dyslexic profiles, one is in a school where the teacher recognizes early signs and adjusts the assessment methods and refers to the family or for support. And the other is in a school where the same signs are read as laziness. After 10 years later, the first is likely to be more confident, literate, young adult in further study or skilled work. But the second is at far higher risk of having uh, left the school early, carrying on both academic and emotional costs that could have been prevented at almost no expense simply by training the teacher who stood in front of that child every day. So, dear teachers, you have a great role, you have a great uh, role, and you are in a very good position of transforming the children. Just imagine at your school there, you have some children, you have some students, you have pupils, others are dyslexic and full of frustration, and others from the school. You have a great role of impacting, of ensuring that they create learning spirit, because all that it has been given onto your hands. So I believe, my dear teachers, you have all what is required. You have all what is required to make sure that that particular child is performing better. And kindly, kindly be like this first teacher who adjusts the assessment methods, learning, raising the learning standards, referring to the family for the support. We shall create the society which will bring a great joy to our country, to our families, and to our community at large. Now, before I move further, I would like to to make an open debate. Perhaps if someone is having a question, a point of addition before I move further. Yes. Hello? Any question so far?
I think there is no question, so you can proceed.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Now moving further, how can we close the gap? We have identified the gap. We have identified the consequences, what the gap costs. We have identified why the training gaps exist. Now, how can we close the gap? The practical steps for individual teachers. Dear teachers and the stakeholders, uh, when it comes to the issue of learning is much vital. Learning is an endless process. Learning is an endless outcome to teachers. Uh, before we impact the knowledge, we should put ourselves in the position of finding new knowledge here and there every day so as we can help, we can support our children. Also, when it comes to the classroom, the use of simple, the low cost classroom adjustment, also the use of extra time, oral responses alongside with the written ones, breaking the instructions into smaller steps, multi-sensory teaching, combining the sound, sight, and the movement when introducing of the letters and the words. Also, keeping a simple written record of a struggling pupil's specific error patterns over several weeks before drawing conclusions. This helps to protect the both children and the teacher's judgment. Sometimes a teacher can judge, but the judgment of the teacher may go negative. So having the simple record, the written record of struggling pupils, it will help a lot. But also to the issue of police and advocacy, the, the push for dyslexia and the specific learning difficulties should be named explicitly in the national inclusive education policy and the teacher training curricula. The teachers who are about to join the colleges, teachers college, once they join there, they can find out that there is these policies concerning raising the dyslexic awareness to the training curricula. Also, one-on-one advocacy for a simple standardized screen checklist that any primary teacher in Tanzania could administer without uh, the need of having a specialist, because it is not quite easy to accommodate each school with a specialist of the issue of dyslexia. So, by concluding, I can conclude by saying that a dyslexic child is not a lazy child. A dyslexic child, a dyslexic student is an intelligent person who requires to be uh, prepared well so as we can identify his inner inner intellectual inner ability and to make this child this student to to be a potential to our country and to national at large.
Thank you so much, Mr. Filbert, for such an insightful and inspiration presentation. I see a comment here for Mia. Uh, can you talk to us, Mia, please? Mia? Okay, I can read it. Um, Thank you for motivation for educators. Do, please, okay. Do also organize workshop for dyslexia and creating awareness as I guess it shall impact as well. It is really amazing to have a dyslexia community in Tanzania. Kudos for their amazing work. Yes, we as Dyslexia Tanzania, we have a community just to raise awareness, and we do a lot of things just to make people aware of dyslexia, and we move just teaching about dyslexia, how to live with people with dyslexia. We're going to churches, to media platforms. We have we do some efforts to make people understanding, but we shall do as you say because it is wonderful. It is amazing comment that we have community in Tanzania. Community. We can try to do, and we can make feedback to you all that the progress is where we have done whatever. So thank you so much, everyone. Um, who is here? Thank you so much. We are we're not many, but I know that we capture something's more important. Thank you so much, Mr. Filbert. And on behalf of Dyslexia Tanzania, I would like to thank you, uh, all of you, and we hope you have gained valuable insight that you can apply to your schools, home, and community. Together, we can build a future where every child is understood, supported, and given the opportunity to thrive. Don't forget to follow Dyslexia Tanzania on social media platform and stay tuned for next Dyslexia Online School session. Will be after next 2 weeks. And once again, thank you for joining us. There is anybody maybe want to speak before?
Nifanyaje? Hello,
Yes, anybody
hello
want?
Jackson.
Yes, welcome.
Oh, I just wanted to say that I'm happy that you guys at Dyslexia Tanzania are doing a very nice job.
Thank
I
you.
was formerly part of you, and then I moved on just to do other things, but I'm very proud of the work that you are doing, and please don't be discouraged by the numbers.
Okay,
The number of people who normally turn up to these kind of invitations or meetings small sometimes, but we need to keep on doing the good job.
okay,
I'm still a very big supporter of your work, and I believe that the more you do, then it is only going to get better from this stage. So keep up the good work and say hi to everyone at Dyslexia Tanzania.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so
Thank you.
Yeah,
much.
yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, I would like to add something. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Uh, Lamia here. Sorry, I couldn't speak earlier. My mic wasn't working well. So, once again, thank you for the beautiful workshop today. You took out your time and shared your knowledge. That's very kind of you. But I think this dyslexia community, I think we will be growing. And if these meetings happen often, it shall be impactful once again. So once again, kudos for the amazing job.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks so much. Anyone,
Welcome.
maybe? Anyone want to say anything?
Yes, I see Miss Nuru. Welcome.
Okay. Once again, thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful evening. Stay safe and God bless you all. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you so much.